Good morning. Lots of pondering going on here this morning as I meditate on several things that seem to join together. Sunday's talk and yesterday's video, in which I mentioned that if we don't love everything, we don't love anything. And there was a video response by a young man Nathan, perhaps. I mean, I'm going by his screen name, which may not be his actual name. But anyway, his response was called First Reality, and it was a video response. Sincere young man said, "We can't love everyone. It's impossible." And so the title this morning is, Can We Love Everyone? Some people, when they make a video or they write in something, they're trying to convince someone of something. And maybe sometimes I fall into that category myself. But I know in a deeper sense that I can't convince anyone of anything. And it's useless to try. All that I can do is put seeds out there, seed thoughts, that my desire would be for them to act as a catalyst so that people could consider other possibilities and maybe change their perspectives. A man named Jason, who was one of my Facebook friends, wrote a comment on yesterday's video. And I'm going to read it, the whole thing to you. I was only going to read the last two paragraphs, but I decided I'm going to read all four of them. He wrote, "Nicely done, Ron. Namaste. Your words have grand implications on an awareness of the subtle reality. Through recent explorations of awareness, I've returned to a familiar place. A current recognition has vividly pulled the lid off of something that has been holding an understanding in. This understanding is subtle because we must agree with it, whether we are conscious about it or not. Immediately, I can think of three layers in the subtle reality which create our external experience. The first, lesser known reality, is that every experience is created from thought. The second, but still not so apparent reality, is that our gift is thought control. The third, this time a more familiar reality, is that thought control is the mechanism that creates perspective. I noticed early on that everybody's experience was descriptively connected with their perspective that was being shared. At first, I looked past this creative notion because I thought that I must be missing something. What was missing was how could I see this so clearly and nobody ever talked about it. That recognition of how the personal experience is created by perspective kept coming back. Perspective fit the context perfectly because it didn't play favorite to either side. Our perspective creates with such precise perfection that it barely seems we ever thought about it this way." Thank you, Jason. That's a lot of food for thought for me. And I agree with you. But that's my perspective. I've mentioned on previous videos that I get a message 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, from Tut's Adventurers Club, Mike Dooley. And today's message is this, and it's always personalized, and I'm going to read the brief little message. Ron, it's the way you think. That's your purpose. It's never been about what work you choose, what gifts you develop, what niche you fill. Let these be for your pleasure. Think as only you can think, which will lead to feelings that only you can feel, from which connections will be made, lives will be changed, and worlds will come tumbling into existence. Perspectives. Can we love everyone? As I listened to Nathan's video response and sensed his sincerity, I couldn't help but realize how many times in my life I would have agreed with him 100%. I can't love everyone. How can I love that person? And do you know what they've done to me? How can I possibly love them? I don't feel good about them. They just give me the creeps. And I've wrestled and wrestled and wrestled with this throughout my life. And there are still times that I'm challenged. I mean, I'm sincerely challenged. But as I've been meditating and pondering these things this morning, I realize that my perspective has everything to do with it. Everything. What I think is possible and impossible, what I can feel or not feel, is all based on perspective. Now let me say something about love, because love is a perspective. And in English language, we are given one word for love. Love. And it means scores of different things. I love pizza. I love beautiful sunsets. I mean, I love you. I love God. All sorts of different things, same word. In Greek, of course, those that have studied the Bible know that there are three words. There's philia, brotherly love. There's eros, erotic or sexual or sensual love. And then there's agape, which is known as divine love. And of course, when I made the statement in my talk on Sunday and followed up in the talk yesterday that if we don't love everyone and everything, we don't really love at all, because our love is conditional. And of course, I'm speaking of the agape love in this case. From the eros perspective, I'm certainly not able to love everybody erotically or sensually or sexually, nor would I want to. And brotherly love, yeah. Because of my unique perspective that we are all interconnected and that separation is the grandest of all illusions, because it's really it's the illusion of illusions. Because truthfully, to me, everything is connected. But I also realize that in our three-dimensional existence, we have trouble with that one, because we see ourselves having separate bodies. And we think often that the body is me. And it is, but not the whole picture. And mystics can see that, and spiritual people may be able to grasp it a little bit with their minds. But it's still hard to get the feeling around. It's still hard to get the heart around it, yet the heart is already around it, which is why it's hard. You see, already at the heart level, we're already connected. The thing is, we don't tap into the heart level, we tap into the mind level. But we have trouble with the concept of loving everyone because we think that means we have to approve of what they do. And from the agape perspective, I perceive God, and it's my perception, that God allows this play to go on, allows us to write our own drama, allows us to follow our own script. Our thoughts create our reality. Old concept. Some people still wrestle with it. Jason nailed it. He absolutely nailed it. From my perspective. Maybe it's not yours. But from the God perspective, as I am able to connect with my God self, my higher self, whatever you want to call it, that part of me which is infinite and eternal, as I connect with that part of me, in that place, when I am in that zone, if you will, I am able to love everyone. I am able to allow everyone to be where they are, and I can see the divine in everyone beyond what they're doing, what they're saying. Because in that place, I know that they are just another part of me reflecting back to me. And that's hard for some people to see, because you don't want to admit that you have the potential within you for such things that you judge so strongly. And correctly. There are certain behaviors that are insane. And I mean, we know they're insane. But to the person that's in the behavior, they have reasons that we may not be able to see right now. And love is being willing to allow for the possibility, if you can't see it as the reality, allow for the possibility that that person is connected to you, whether you like it or not, whether you want to admit it or not. Allow for that possibility. That allowing is how you love the person who seems unlovable. You're allowing yourself to see from a different perspective. You are opening your mind, which opens your heart to allow that individual to be an individual, to be different than you are, with the understanding that perhaps they're not as different as you might think. So what I'm trying to do with these Ninth Wave videos is to be the catalyst by providing my thoughts and sharing my heart and my feelings openly and as honestly with you as I'm able to, as sincerely as I'm able to. Because I struggle with the same things that everyone struggles with, because I'm connected to everyone, and so are you, whether you realize it or not in this moment. You are connected to everyone and everything, because everyone and everything in the entire cosmos is interconnected. That's a scientific fact as well as a mystical and spiritual fact. Maybe you haven't learned that fact yet. Maybe you're resisting that fact. But quantum physics teaches us that pairs are connected even when they're thousands of miles apart, what you do to one, the other one will respond, because it demonstrates that the scientific experiment demonstrates the reality of the interconnectedness of all of life. Jason is correct. Our perspective creates with precise perfection. We live in a perfect universe that precisely shows us what we want to see, because that's the perception of our thought, the way we think, what we have chosen to look at. So ponder these things, weigh them in your heart, weigh them in your soul. How do you feel? What do you think? I believe we can love everyone. Nathan, I really believe that. And I'm learning how. And sometimes it's a real challenge. But I thank each of you, those two that I've mentioned here, well, three, Mike Dooley's totally unique thought for today. But I thank each of you for making a contribution to this video this morning. And I thank each of you that sends me all sorts of comments. I mean, I have such a wonderful family. So many soulmates that are connected to me all around the globe. It's a wonderful feeling and a wonderful thing. It's my perspective. Because you're resonating and being drawn in to my perspective, and you're seeing yourself as connected to me. So many of you. Thank you for that. I love you. And those that may be watching with an antagonistic attitude because I'm pushing your buttons, I love you too. Even if I don't agree with you in a moment or on a subject, I still love you. So I went a little bit longer than I like to go today. I went over the 15-minute mark, over the 16-minute mark. Be kind to yourself today. And as you're kind to yourself, you'll be able to be kind to others. But you can't give others what you don't first give yourself. Loving others, loving everyone, starts with loving you. Namaste. Beautiful day.